Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. I hope you all are well. Welcome you all to His Holy Chandramauli Maharaj's daily call. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. And so Maharaj, today's topic is Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 17th chapter and 20th verse. I'll just quickly share my screen. Is that correct, Maharaj? Is that okay if I share screen now? Thank you. Yes, Maharaj. Over to you. I've started the recording so we can get going.
Okay, obeisances to all the devotees. So we're continuing with this discussion between Maharaj Parikshit and the personification of religion in the form of a bull. When the bull has been beaten, mistreated, mutilated, Maharaj Parikshit is running through his kingdom and he saw this, this very low-class man beating the legs of a bull. Immediately he put a stop to it. Now he's addressing the bull itself, who is the personification of religion. Who or what is the cause of all of your suffering? And now the bull, who is the personality of the religion, personified, has been answering that question in the last few verses. And they'll continue with this discussion here as he continues to name possibilities by which people present as means or causes of suffering. So now we have that verse here. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Apta apata apratarkyad anirdeshyan iti kesyapi nischayah atra nurupam rajarse vimsrishya swamini shinam. Can you make the letters bigger? It's too small for me to read. That's too big. There you go. That's good, right there. It's good, right there. Stop. Translation. There are also some thinkers who believe that no one can ascertain the cause of distress by argumentation, nor know it by imagination, nor express it by words. O sage amongst the kings, judge for yourself by thinking over all this with your own intelligence. Now, the personification of religion is saying, there are many people who can't even come to any conclusion. So you're very intelligent. What do you think? Purport. The Vaishnavas, the devotees of the Lord, do believe, as above explained, that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Lord. He is the supreme director, for he confirms in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15 that he, as all-pervading Paramatma, stays in everyone's heart and keeps vigilance over all actions and witnesses of all activities. The argument of the atheist that one cannot be punished for one's misdeeds unless proved before a qualified justice is refuted herein. For we accept the perpetual witness and constant companion of the living being. A living being may forget all that he might have done in the past or present life, but one must know that the same tree of the material body, the individual soul, and the supreme soul as Paramatma are sitting just like two birds. One of them, the living being, is enjoying the fruits of the tree, whereas the supreme being is there to witness the activities. Therefore, the Paramatma feature, the supreme soul, is actually the witness of all activities of the living being. And only by his direction can the living being remember or forget what he might have done in the past. He is therefore both the all-pervading impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma in everyone's heart. He is the knower of all past, present, and future, and nothing can be concealed from him. The devotees know this truth, and therefore they discharge their duties sincerely, without being over-anxious for rewards. Besides that, one cannot estimate the Lord's reactions, either by speculation or by scholarship. Why does he put some into difficult and not others? If he is the supreme knower of the Vedic knowledge, and thus he is the factual Vedanta. At the same time, he is the compiler of Vedanta. No one is independent of him, and everyone is engaged in the service in different ways. In the conditioned state, such services are rendered by the living being under force of the material nature. Whereas in the liberated state, the living being is voluntary love and service of the Lord. There is no incongruity or inebriety in his actions. All are on the path of the absolute truth. Bhishmadev correctly estimated the inconceivable actions of the Lord. The conclusion is, therefore, that the suffering of the representative religion and the representative of the earth, as present before Maharaj Parikshit, was planned to prove that Maharaj Parikshit was the ideal executive head because he knew well how to give protection to the cows, the earth, and the Brahmanas' religious principles, the two pillars of spiritual advancement. Everyone is under the full control of the Lord. He is quite correct in his action when he desires something to be done by someone, irrespective of the consideration of the particular case. Maharaj Parikshit was thus put to test for his greatness. Now let us see how he solves it by his sagacious mind. Om Gyan Timidandasya Gina Jina Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord explains his position in different angles of vision in relationship to his devotee. He says, I am the overseer and permitter. He witnesses everything, as it's mentioned here. He is the indwelling supersoul within the hearts of all living beings, no matter what body they may inhabit. He is there to accompany his part and parcel, the jiva soul, in whatever body they're in, even in the most insignificant body as a germ. He's there. He's all pervasive in his super soul feature. That means everywhere his hands, legs, eyes, and faces, he sees everything at all times, in all places, for all people. But he's a witness, and he allows things to happen, and he also wants things to happen. So it says he's the overseer and the permitter. Why he permits things to happen, although what may be happening is apparently, and we use the word with emphasis, not beneficial for the person involved, such as I was discussing with one devotee today, how people during the Second World War were in the Nazi concentration camps. And the Jewish race was being violently persecuted for no reason, apparently. And people were living, suffering miserably, and dying also because of that suffering. And people were praying, where is God? We are followers of the Lord, but he's not doing anything. Is he impotent? Is he unaware? And people were conjecturing different ways. There were even books and philosophical discussions why God allows for the living entity to suffer in the material world. And the conclusions are always inconclusive because no one can understand the nature and will of the Lord. He is all good, as it says, and he is all omniscient. He knows everything, every place, at all times. But he gives the living entities their independence. And so he puts them, or he allows them to be put into a certain situation because of their past activities. One cannot see, as Prabhupada says here, one cannot see what one has done either in this life, mostly, and completely in a previous life. But one is getting reactions in this life for activities performed in previous lives. But one cannot see that. And therefore, there is a class of people who say, well, where's the witness? If there is some misdeed and there is some punishment coming by way of the misdeed, then who's watching? Who's witnessing? Well, in the Bhagavatam, in the third canto, it mentions there are 13 witnesses to every activity. 13 is the actual number. The sun, the moon, the earth, the wind, and it goes down the line naming different features of the material energy, who are actually personifications. There's like one great Christian saint He's probably one of the greatest of all the Christian saints. His name was Saint Francis of Assisi. Assisi is a place in Italy. And he personified material nature. He used to call the sun brother. He would call the moon sister. He was so connected to material energy that one time he gave a sermon to a whole class of fish. He was sitting on the shore and he started to speak, and all these fish just gathered around as he was speaking. So he was very much aligned with material nature because he was a pure soul. Pure soul works along with the control of material nature and not against it. And therefore he's also free from the effects of the material nature. So here we're seeing that this is really a challenge. Maharaj Parikshit is being challenged by some believers say you can't find out by argument. Others say you can't know it by imagination, even if you can't even express this in words. So you're the best of all thinkers. With your intelligence, what is the understanding? What is the answer? And between the next two verses, 20 and 22, there is a very, very powerful statements that come by way of Maharaj Parikshit and the personification. But here, we're understanding that Yeyatam mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajami aham mama vartmanu vartante manusha partha sarvasyana. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he puts the material energy in place. It works according to his arrangement, and he also controls it through his energies. Parasya Shakti Vidhaya Sayute, Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriya Cha. That his energies are working according to his will. And everything is being done according to the will of the Lord. So then he might say, well, why does the Lord allow so much suffering for the living entity in this material world if he's the supreme controller and he is all good at the same time? And we'll see that actually the activities that the living entity does are not understood by the living entity, and therefore they perform activities in the lower modes, such as the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance. And the material energy is like the wife of the Lord. She is the obedient wife of the Lord. She is also called the mother of all living entities. She's called Mother Earth because she's the provider of all the necessities that the living entity needs to live in the material world. But she's also the punisher of those who break the laws of God. Just like in the family, the mother is connected very much with the children, you might say more than the father. The children grow up closer to the mother. The father is there, but the mother is constantly with the children as they grow up more and more. So she's providing. But if they don't obey the father, then she will also cause the living entity to undergo some correction in the form of punishment as a means to stop their wrong activities and bring him to the right understanding. Then you might say, well, how is punishment going to bring one to the right understanding? That's a very good question. Punishment is there as a reaction for misdeeds or wrong deeds. But how is that going to bring one to the right action? Then, of course, then we have the mercy of the Lord who comes in the form of his pure devotee, spiritual master. He comes in the form of eternal religious principles, Shastra. He comes in the form of his own self as the deity. He comes in the form of the association of others who are also practicing Krishna, kind of the association of devotees. So the Lord gives the living entity a chance to rectify themselves and come to a higher stage of existence, which is the standard by which the living entity can be free from all suffering and at the same time make progress towards the goal of life, prema pumartha mahan, to develop love for the Supreme Lord by executing the process of eternal religious principles in the form of serving the Lord for the pleasure of the Lord. And so everything is working accordingly. And there's a verse that is spoken by the Lord himself in the first chapter of the 7th canto, where he puts the material energy in place. And the mode of goodness works in a certain way. The mode of passion works in a certain way. The word of ignorance works according to his direction. And so people in the material world, because to be in the material world means to be locked up in a limited sphere of existence under these three different forms of control. When one is under the influence or working under the influence of the mode of ignorance, they are completely controlled and completely in ignorance of their actual identity and the goal of life. And they suffer perpetually and also cause suffering to others. Those in the mode of passion are a little bit more freer, but at the same time, they're also acting in a selfish way to fulfill their desires to enjoy in the material world. They may get a little relief from the suffering at times, but it's only a tokenism because the mode of suffering means a hard struggle in order to live in this world, in order to squeeze out some kind of material happiness. And those in the mode of goodness, they are even a little bit more freer because they have developed some of the qualities of a Vaishnava. But although they don't serve the Lord, at least they've developed certain good qualities where they don't cause harm to others, at least theoretically, at least not purposely, but sometimes it happens anyway. So they're even more free. But how can you be free in a prison house? These three forms of control are all forms of the type of ways that a prisoner is locked up in the jail. You might use the analogy, we preach in jail, so we can give a little analogy, that there's three classes of prisoners in jails also. There is the persons who are good prisoners, who follow the rules of the jail and don't cause problems to others. They're given a little bit of freedom within the jail to move around and get more facilities for their own activities. Then you have the mainstream prisoners, which is the majority of the population, and that's analogous to the mode of goodness, passion. And then you have those who cause trouble in the jail for themselves and others, and they're taken away from the mainstream and they're put into what is called solitary confinement, where they have to live in a very secluded place that is so small they can hardly turn around, and they have to stay there for a period of time as punishment. So locked up in all three are locked up. So people think, well, I'll be a nice person, I'll live in this world, I'll give in charity, I won't harm anybody, I actually go to church, I give donations, if people need something, I'm always there to help them. And And then they're doing all what we say pious activities. So they're like the mode of goodness, but they're still within the prison house. Still within the prison house. And then, of course, the other two modes, they're more selfish and they're more greedy. And they're really causing problems to others and themselves, which is the majority of the people in the material world. So yeah, you see, this material world is a locking process. You can be locked up with brass chains, you can be locked up with silver chains, or you can be locked up with golden chains, but you're still locked up. That's the point. So you might think, I'm locked up with golden chains. Hey, that's pretty good. But still, you're locked up. You're not free. So freedom, and especially freedom from suffering, is understood only when one somehow takes to the process of devotional service and goes above the effects of the three modes of material nature. Krishna doesn't interfere with the way the modes work. That's why he says he's the permitter. He allows people to get the results of their activities because that's what they want. Just like it says that a child may not know that fire burns. Child's looking at the fire and it looks very bright and colorful. And he thinks, oh, let me touch it. So he puts his hand and immediately he gets a reaction. So the fire doesn't say, well, it was a child, therefore I should not burn. No, material energy is like that. You can't play around with this energy. Very powerful. It's called chaya. Srishti stisti palaya sadhyeka chayeva vivati duri. Ichanga rupa apasyat yestate sa govindamari purusham samaham bhajami. That describes the superintendent of this material world, which is Durga Devi. She is, the word Durga means difficult to go. Dur means difficult, and go means, Durga means to go. Difficult to go, difficult to get out of this place. Durga has another meaning. The name Durga also means fort, like a gigantic military fort that one is locked inside of this fort and can't get out. So no one can thwart the material energy and think it's okay. One has to learn what is right and what is wrong and avoid it, and then eventually come to the process of understanding that all material activities ultimately lead to suffering. Even the mode of goodness will lead one to a form of suffering, because it's explained that the world is duality. Duality means when you get some happiness, you'll get that much in proportion to suffering. You can't have pure happiness in this world. If you want pure happiness, you have to go back to the spiritual world, not here. Happiness is mixed with different types of distress, and ultimately it ends in due course of time. So therefore, only when one comes to devotional service can one free themselves from the reactions of the three modes of material energy. The materialists try to control the energy by manipulating it and working with it to make it work in different ways. And ultimately, material energy, as Krishna says, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharancharam hetunana vikonteya chigaviva vipartante. This energy is my energy, mama maya. It's my energy, and it's daivi, daiviesha, gunamayi, daiviesha. It's divine. Why? Because I created it. Anything created by the Lord ultimately is divine, but it works according to the Lord's desire. And so the material world is a prison house for the conditioned souls who have left the spiritual world and have come here to enjoy separately from the world of wars. But the Lord is so kind, he gives you a chance to get out. And that is the process of bhakti. That's the way out. It's the way of freedom. But people can't even, they don't, even if you explain everything, and you can explain to them how they're suffering, still they can't take the devotional service. They still mistakenly think that they can somehow or other free themselves by their own efforts. There's a nice little, what you might say, message. Sometimes you see a fly will get stuck inside of a room, and he goes right by the window, and he's running against the window because he sees the light of the window, and he's trying to get out, so he bounces off the window in different places. But the window's open a little bit to one side, where if he were to go a little bit farther in another direction, he would be immediately free. And sometimes you try to push the fly out, and he flies back to the window again, and you try again, and he thinks, why am I being, impeded? So that's the conditioned souls. When pure devotional service, when pure religious principles come, and they're being given a chance to get out, they think, this is just another form of material activity. It's not going to give me any help. They can't see the benefit of devotional service. So one has to be fortunate. One has to be fortunate. And if one is fortunate, how do they become fortunate? By somehow or other praying to the Lord, saying, my dear Lord, I am suffering in this material world. And I know I can't stop my suffering by my own efforts. Only you can help me. And then if they pray sincerely, just like we might say, devotees ask the question, what is the purpose of life? Why do I have to die? Why do I have to suffer? These are questions that people ask. And that brings them to the answers. And then the Lord will give the answers by sending his representative to those conditioned souls to give them the answers of their questions and also the way out of the suffering of the material world. But still, people are so stubborn and so attached to the material existence, which is causing them so much suffering. They don't listen. It's just like on the pack of the cigarettes, it says, smokers will be inflicted by emphysema, lung cancer, complications in pregnancies, and still they smoke. And then they make a more powerful declaration, smoking kills, and still people smoke. The sales of cigarettes have not gone down, even with all this advertisement of the dangers of smoking cigarettes, but still people will do it. Why? You might think, why? Why? Because attachment. Material attachment goes so deep in the hearts of the conditioned souls that they don't even consider the reactions of what they're doing. They only want to keep doing what they're doing, thinking that if I do it a little bit differently, maybe it'll get better. But it never gets better. It just gets more diversified, but it never gets better. And so here, now we're going to find out why there is suffering. And the personification of the religion is saying, no one can know it by imagination, express it in words, or even come to conclusion by argumentation. But you, because you are not only the king, but you are a wise man. You are a great soul. You can give us the answer. So you think about it. So it's interesting how in one sense, Maharaj Parikshit is being challenged by the personification of religion in the form of a bull. Okay, so we'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. It's a very nice reminder of how we can stop our suffering and what is the cause of our sufferings. And devotees, if you have any questions, comments, realizations, please unmute yourself and ask. You can also type it in the chat and I can read it for you. And it'll be nice to have your cameras on, please. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Okay, we have, okay, yeah, Rajpur, please go ahead.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you, Maharaj. All glories to all of the devotees present. Maharaj, you gave us the example of the material world being like a prison, or different types of imprisonment, the different systems. And sometimes we hear different examples. For example, Keshava Maharaj often, his favorite example is that its material world is like an education center and we're all here to learn. And then I've heard others saying like it's more like a hospital and we need to be healed. So how can we understand and link these together, or is any explanation better than the other?
I just think from basically what you have said, and it's just from all of these answers are correct from different angles of vision. Prabhupada called it a hospital. And he said the purpose of life is to receive proper education in the form of transcendental knowledge. But both of these answers are correct from different angles of vision because both apply to correction or to upliftment. The hospital, theoretically, is there to cure a disease. And therefore, those who are in the hospital are sick. So, in that sense, everyone has a disease. What is that disease? It's called bhavaro. Bhavaro means material attachment. It's a disease. It's foreign to the living entity's nature. And that material attachment causes the person to suffer in different ways, according to the type of attachment they have. So yeah, Prabhupada called it a hospital, and then he said, just like in the hospital, the doctors and the caretakers, they give you medicine and they give you a diet. So Prabhupada made the analogy. He said, the medicine is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and the diet is Krishna Prasad. So yeah, but people think, well, I'm all right. I got it together. But how can you be in a hospital and be okay? How can you be in a jail and be free? How can you not know who you are and be intelligent? You don't know who you are. If you think you're this body, that's the basic principle of ignorance. Because all activities will follow based on this misconception that body. Because then everything centers around giving comfort and nourishment to the body. But the soul is being forgotten. And so that's ignorance. Krishna deals with that in the first second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, difference between the living being and material energy, difference between the body and the actual person, the spirit soul within the body. So, yeah, different ways, a prison house, an educational institution, a hospital. You might even find other analogies also. It's the material world. A rehabilitation center.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thanks, Raj Prabhu. Rishabh Prabhu, I'll come back to you after Sridevi Mataji's question. Sridevi Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Satyabhama. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, this stark reminder of the prison cell and thinking that, oh, my prison cell is better than yours, but we are all in prison anyway. So this is really very warped thinking. And one should, as Srila Prabhupada said, how to get out of this place. Now that we have been given this knowledge, Srila Prabhupada also said to us that you have become fortunate. You go and make the unfortunate fortunate. Give this knowledge to others who are suffering in ignorance. So my question is, we may feel very small and limited, but as long as we are following the orders of spiritual master and doing what the tasks, the seva that we have been given to do, are we doing our part in pushing on this movement?
Well, we have the example of Ram Leela, where they were trying to build a bridge over the ocean. The monkeys were throwing huge boulders, and Ram was writing his name on each of the boulders, and therefore they were floating, and the bridge was being built. But there was one squirrel, some people say squirrel, some people say spider. He wanted to help. He was kicking some grains of sand into the ocean. And then Hanuman was thinking, he's in the way, we might step on him. So move aside, little squirrel. And Ram noticed that, and he spoke to Hanuman. He said, he's doing as much as you are doing, because he's working to his capacity, and you are working to your capacity. So that's how devotional service works. Try to work to your capacity. People's capacity may be different, but still, the quality is determined by one's effort and not one's so much ability. Whatever you have, use in the service of the Lord. And so the more you have, well, when we have, sometimes we have a lot and we only use a little, then that means we're not being honest. We're holding back. So we should try to do our best to serve in any and every situation. And there are people who think of different ways to reach the conditioned souls with this knowledge. And there's different programs for preaching. Some come up with creative ideas how to reach different people. And that creativity is also a feature of bhakti. It shows that one is serious to bring about a change. So my answer is yes, everyone should work their capacity, but one should never think I've reached my capacity. I can always put more quality. I can always put more quantity. And that way, one is moving forward. Srila Prabhupada used that principle to spread Krishna consciousness. He said to the Americans, who he was preaching to for years, when he first began, he said, you are coming from the greatest of all nations. You should do something big.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that. What is the use of you being Americans if you cannot do something big for Krishna?
Yeah. So he knew it was there, but he wanted to bring it out. But that applies to all of us.
Thanks, Maharaj. Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Devi Mataji.
Well, it does answer
Yes.
the question, but sometimes I think I also want to do something big for Srila Prabhupada, for my Gurudev. But what can I do? I'm so small and not very capable also. So should I just be satisfied with my own small ant-like activities, or should I dream big? Or is that being foolish?
Think big, but don't try to do something that will jeopardize your own spiritual progress. Prabhupada said, yeah, you should think big, but not at the expense of your own fall down. It's like bridge preaching. Bridge preaching means to go beyond and try to do something great, but at the same time, it says that if you're trying to catch the big fish, be careful not to fall into the water. So there is that cautionary statement. Yes, do something big, but understand how, therefore advice from others. But the point is, we can always do better, we can always do, because the ability of the soul is fueled by the mercy of the Lord. And the more we receive, the more mercy, the more one can use that mercy to expand Krishna consciousness individually and collectively. Because Mukhan Karoti Vachalam, Pangu Lagate Girim, Tatviram Priviram Bande, Shigurun Dinatarinam. And that by the mercy of Guru, a blind man can see the stars, a lame man can climb mountains, and a dumb man can recite beautiful poetry. So yeah, don't limit yourself, but at the same time understand how best you can expand your Krishna consciousness. We always want to do more. It's not that we're satisfied. Oh, I've done enough. That's not Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Very inspiring. My humble obeisances.
Thank you. That was very, very nice. Very nice, encouraging and inspiring. So we have next question from Rishabh Prabhu Maharaj. I will read it for you. Dear Gurudev and Vaishnavas, please accept my humble obeisance. When I preach to young engineers, I tell them this world is like a big multiplayer video games. It's not the point to figure out how to play the game in enjoying way, but to get out of it as soon as possible. They can connect with it so far. One question, Gurudev. How would devotees define what is wisdom when we are asking in preaching efforts? Would you like to hear your answer? Would like to hear your answer about what is wisdom.
Wisdom is the culmination of knowledge applied in a particular circumstance. A wise person can see the situation and act accordingly. A knowledgeable person might know the philosophy, but he hasn't come to the point of understanding it, the application. Wisdom is mature knowledge. It's also understood as theoretical knowledge and realized knowledge. Realized knowledge is wisdom. It's called, there is Gyan and Vishishta Gyan. Vishishta means, or Vishwagan, Gyan, means intensification of knowledge to the point of realization. So if one practices preaching, giving knowledge, gradually through their experiences, working with different groups or people, they develop a type of knowledge that is, they can see a situation and they can act accordingly. It comes by, wisdom doesn't come automatically, it comes by applying theoretical knowledge in different situations in life. Then you get the feel of it, then you get the understand, then you know how, you know what to say, and you know how to deal with different audiences.
Thank you. Thanks, Maharaj. Vishaprabhu, I hope that answers your question. Thank you. Namrata Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, while you were answering the Sridevi Mataji, you mentioned that we should not be satisfied with our activities in Krishna consciousness. We should always aspire for more. So, as a practicing devotee or Vaishnava, we are in the mode of goodness when we practice this. So when we aspire more, we want more. We want to do more. So combining it with the mode of passion, we it happens when we get this passion, then we want more. So I was just trying to understand this, that when we use this combinations of three modes in Krishna consciousness, then we transcend from the three modes. Is that a correct understanding?
No. You have to work in a mode of goodness.
Okay.
Ignorance cannot be dovetailed in only goodness.
Okay.
Because passion is trying to enjoy the results of your activity. Ignorance is not knowing what to do or how to do it. Goodness is enlightened knowledge that is supported by the good qualities of the soul. And so that's why Krishna told Arjuna, come to the mode of goodness. Even he was a fighter, and to fight you have to acquiesce passion. But he was fighting on religious principles, therefore he was not in the mode of passion. But he was acting apparently in that with certain characteristics of passion, but he was using it in the service of the Lord. So fighting is one of the examples that there is a more of an effort on a physical level. It looks like passion, but it's not passion. It's devotion. You can't really describe a person who is situated in devotional service. They may act in different ways, but because they're acting under the control of the spiritual energy, the Daivi Prakriti, the Para Prakriti, because they're doing that, they're transcendental to all of these three modes.
Thank you very much. Got it.
It looks like passion, sometimes even looks like ignorance, but it's not. It's simply certain characteristics of these modes, but they're being used in the service of the Lord. Therefore, it's not passion or ignorance, unless it's fully transcendental. unless it follows the principles of transcendence as described by Rupa Goswami. Ayabilasita Sunya Jnanakamarayanagritam Anukulena Krishna Silanam Bhakti Uttamam. That devotional service has to be free from the desire to enjoy fruitive activities, free from the tendency to enjoy philosophical speculation on the absolute truth, has to be for Krishna with a desire to please Krishna. That is devotional service. If it has some of these qualities, but not all of them, then it's mixed devotional service. It's not pure. Anyone can act purely at any time. Doesn't mean you have to be pure to act purely. If you follow carefully the process, you're acting in a purified way. And you're becoming purified. Although you might still have tendencies towards material energy, you may still have material desires. If you follow the process, then you're acting in purity because the process itself is pure. And I just described the characteristics. Everything is known by its characteristics.
Thanks, Amrita Mataji. Any other questions, devotees?
It's like you're painting. So you can paint for Krishna or you can paint for yourself. Same activity. One is material, the other one is spiritual. You can paint thinking, I'm going to paint for Krishna and be famous as a great devotional artist. And I'll be known in devotional service as a great artist. So let me paint so many nice things and offer it to Krishna. So you'd still, the motivation is tinged by your personal desire. Well, it's not pure. But if you think, I'm gonna paint nicely for Krishna because I want to please Krishna by my offering. I want to please the spiritual master. I want to do something which will enhance the quality of Krishna consciousness through the service of art. You think like that, that's pure.
Thank you, Maharaj. That's a nice example to teach me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you. Ashidevi Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sati Mama. Dear Guru Maharaj, how to make the Vaishnavas very happy?
How to make Vaishnavas very happy? Well, what does it say in the Nectar of Instructions?
To give gifts, receive gifts, offer prasadam, take prasadam, to open your heart confidentially, and to receive confidentially their heartfelt sharing. Okay, got the answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Mataji.
Good, you got it.
Any other questions? No?
Is I don't see Srimati. Is she anywhere around?
She's not online, Guru Maharaj, today, I think. There is a question from Rishabh Prabhu. Sorry, Guru Maharaj, just once. Hare Krishna Gurudev, what is the pure attitude for book distribution and for preaching?
Get the books out. Just get them out. If you get them in the hands of the conditioned souls, the books will do the rest.
Brilliant.
reach themselves by their own quality and content. You just have to get them in the hands and the conditions, so and so.
Just one question on this, Guru Maharaj. Sometime, giving out the books, and if you're giving it to a butcher, I just feel very sad. I don't know why. I feel like I'm handing over, Krishna at someone's place where he doesn't want to be. It- and so many times people, drop pennies in the blood in their hands, and literally they pick up the coins and they put it in your tin, and you just feel like, and it's so badly. And sometimes, because I've always noticed, butchers are very generous. They're very generous people. And they sometimes, like last time I went out, he just gave me 20 pound. But its hands were so dirty because we were just chopping the meat. And because he gave such nice donation, I had to, obviously, like, we want to give the books. And so I gave him the books, but just leaving the books, it just took my heart out. I felt like I wasn't happy giving the books there, like, and Bhagavad Gita was one of them. It's just how do we see that, Guru Maharaj?
These books cannot be contaminated. They're not part of the material world. They're Krishna in the form of literary knowledge, transcendental philosophical knowledge.
Guru Maharaj, this reminds me of that annual butchers convention and how the book distributor who was being chased by police got to hand out books over there. You told us this book distribution story of how Lord Chaitanya went to a butchers convention.
The point is, even if the person that you give the book to is not the person who benefits from the book, someone will benefit. Someone, once the book gets in circulation, someone will benefit from it. I was just talking last night about one particular devotee who joined the New Vrindavan community. He was living in the southern part of the United States, in southern Georgia. He's sitting in a laundromat and he's eating a watermelon. And he's sitting on top of one of the tables. And the watermelon slips out of his hand and falls into the garbage can, which is right next to him. So he wants to get his watermelon back. So he reaches in, and lo and behold, he picks up a Bhagavad Gita, which was in the bottom of the garbage can. And then he's looking at it, he's thinking, what is this? And then he starts going through it, and he starts reading it, and he gets real excited, and he wants to know more. And then there was some address, because he was a welder, a professional welder. And so he thought, wow, I'm going to go to this farm community in West Virginia. And he did, he joined, got initiated. Gave him the name Tamal. I remember I used to see him. Yeah, that was his experience. Somebody got a Bhagavad Gita and threw it in the garbage can. But that same Bhagavad Gita made him a devotee. And there's many examples like that. Prabhupada said, my books are time bombs. You know what a time bomb is? It means when you release a time bomb, it may not go off, but there is a timer on it. It will go off accordingly. It will have effect at one point to get the books out.
Thank you, Maharaj. That's very helpful.
Very-
Namrata Mataji. Sorry, Maharaj?
We're referring to Rishad, whether he understood that one.
Yes, Namrata Mataji, please go ahead.
Just a quick question, Guru Maharaj. So I'm trying to create something using the sand of Radhakund, is it, I mean, should I do that? Is it worth that effort?
If that's your artistic uh, intelligence dictating, yeah, go ahead. Fine.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
As long as for Krishna, yeah.
Yes,
Something-
Guru Maharaj,
If it's being offered to Krishna, sure, why not?
I was just trying to create a picture. I just thought of Radhakund sand. It's dark in color. So I was trying to create something out of that. But at the same time, I was thinking, is it allowed or not? So it's better I should ask Guru Maharaj first.
Yeah, just don't waste it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Please.
Thanks, Namita Mataji. Srimati Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, I couldn't join the class since the beginning. I heard that I was watching in the YouTube. I heard that you called my name, so I just joined online. So, is there anything for me, Maharaj?
Yeah, tomorrow, class will be at the same time at 12 o'clock, but then at 1:30 UK time, which is an hour and a half later, I'll be giving another class on the glories of Bhakti Tirtha Swami. There's a series of lectures, one after another, all about Bhakti Tirtha Swami. So I'll do two classes tomorrow, one from 12 to 1, and then from 1:30 onward. So I'll send you the link
Yes, Maharaj.
to the phone. It was sent to me on my WhatsApp, and then you can make it known to the devotees if they want to come on the second one also.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
Oh, don't miss
Sure.
the first. Don't miss the first class. It's really getting exciting now.
Okay, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm driving.
Okay, so I'll just send it to you.
Sure.
I'll also send you the schedule as it goes from one speaker to another.
Okay, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Bhakti Tirtha Swami's Titi for his appearance day is actually the day after on the 17th, but there'll be programs on the 16th and on the 17th.
Thank you. Thanks, Maharaj. Thanks, Devi Srimati Mataji. Please drive safe. I guess no other questions, Maharaj. So then we can close the session. Thank you so much again. Yes,
Yeah.
you're saying something.
Everybody's been listening for months and years. Now, come on, preach. All of you, get out there and do something. Don't just listen all the time. Use the knowledge and speak it. This is what it's all about, gaining that knowledge and then giving it to others. And this is the culmination of realization of Krishna consciousness and the happiness that comes by with that realization. The purpose of these classes is yes, to learn, but also to take it and spread it yourself.
Yes, Guru So there is one comment I wanted to give you on this, that yesterday also spoke to Sridevi Mataji about this. And after your last visit from UK, I've started a new batch of Bhakti Vriksha, and it started last week only. Actually, that was the first week of that batch. And it's really funny that I was looking at the today morning preparing for today's class, and the questions were that why do people suffer and how do we witness, like, and it's so you mentioned that in the class that there is 13 witnesses of our activity. So Krishna is, I'm just trying to say that how Krishna helps in preaching. So yesterday I had a very nice talk, and Sridevi Mataji very nicely, very kindly called me up and gave me the instruction how we can preach and how we can get confidence in our, which I don't have any intelligence, but I'm trying to gather some from your lectures and from the book, Srila Prabhupada's books. But yeah, Lord is really very. Today's topic is completely. It's all about what is the topic we have in today's evening class, and so just saying that yes, please, all of you bless me that this batch does something. There is about 8 devotees have joined, and there sounds to be sincere, looks to be sincere, but don't know. But yeah, Krishna is helping. Krishna supports every time you try to follow Guru's and Gauranga's instructions, Srila Prabhupada's. Yes.
Guru Maharaj, just for the record, I didn't give any instructions, nor did I say anything useful or valuable. Satyabhama is a very empowered lady, and I simply politely returned her call. She already knew everything what had to be done, just for the record.
You're too humble, Mataji. Thank you.
There were question, there were Jagadish and Badri.
Yes, Jagdish Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, all glories to Prabhupada. I just want to say, you said that there was a gentleman who did 35,000 abortions. And if there's a butcher who's killed 35,000 animals, are they getting the same amount of sin, or is one getting more than the other?
Well, you think, well, I'm killing animals and it's not so bad because they're not people. But Madhu Samhita gives a different understanding, particularly in the category of cows. Says that killing a cow is equal to killing 2 men in terms of the reactions that one gets. Very heavy reaction, especially for cows, because cows are very sacred animal. And Krishna loves cows very much. This whole, without going into all of the benefits that cows bring to human culture, if you see in this particular purport that we read today, talks about cows being the foundation for culture. Without cows, there's no culture. And they're killing the culture in the form of these different slaughterhouses. So that's why there's so much suffering in the world. It's due to killing animals. In fact, that's a big part of the bad karma that people are undergoing. Heavy. They don't see, and even religionists don't even understand the importance of protecting all life. That's what the speak of cows. Yeah. So suffering is going to be there. Different forms of suffering. He says and if a society endorses this type of activity, that whole society suffers also. The laws of material energy are very, very stringent and cannot be manipulated by anyone's ideas or legislation. Legislation doesn't make something right. If it's not in line with the laws of God, it has no value. Yeah, so you're right. There's tremendous amount of suffering, even for animal killers.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Prabhupada tells the story of actually Bhakti Siddhanta tells the story. There was one person who was giving out benedictions. And the first person he came to was a prince. So he said, I bless you to live forever. Don't die. Don't die. The second was a brahmachari. He said, my blessing is die immediately. The third one was a sadhu, a saintly person. He said, you can live or you can die, whatever. Both are blessings. And for the butcher was the last person. He said, don't live, don't die. So then the explanation, the prince, he's enjoying royal happiness and he's committing all kinds of sinful activities. If he dies, he's going to suffer, so live forever. That's the blessing. The brahmachari sleeping on the floor, he's eating khichdi, it's a life of austerity. He's trying to worship the Lord, so die immediately and get the benefit and go back to the spiritual world. The sadhu, he's out there, he's self-realized and he's preaching. So whether he lives or dies, he's happy. He's in a good situation. So you can either live or die. And the butcher, he's living in hell, and if he dies, he's going to hell. Don't live, don't die.
Thank you. Thanks, Lord Maharaj. That's very, very helpful. Very nice example.
Prabhupada mentions it, explains it in much more detail. Okay,
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
so we'll see you all tomorrow at the same time. And if you're inclined, we'll also have a second class, a half hour after the first class is over.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Bhakti.
Jai.
Thank you very much for today's class.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you, Guru.